What up, everybody? Hi, world. Welcome back to Perspectives. This is your new favorite podcast. My name is Holden Stephan Roy. Typically, we would be co-hosted with Littyyy Bro Flacko, but dude's like posting Facebook statuses like I'm in ATL this week, so he's out there doing his thing. On that note, I'm gonna run you through the intro. Joining me today is True End of the Week royalty with Mas Law, representing the UK clan, and I've done a lot of interviews, but I've never talked to a single interview in the UK like this before. So it's a big moment for me stills. On that note, we like to start the show off running through the history of how the show came to be. Typically, Flacco would do this part, so I like to do my paraphrase version of the situation. So at one point, Littyyy Bro Flacko was doing his volume 1 press, run. He was doing this stuff, and he got it mixed by the homeboy in Montreal, Merker Miyagi. He, as a typical New Yorker, he may as well be, as I found out, does not like to do things such as share the music of most of the people he mixes, because if you share one, you got to share them all. But he chose to share this song, one of the ones from the Littyyy Bros project. So I caught that. I listened to it. I made a little album review on that. And then that caught Littyyy Bro Flacko's attention. He left a little comment like, we should talk more, do a little interview. Then we did the interview, and the way he puts it is, bro, I gotta tell you, it's like therapy. It's not any of that typical rapper shit like all the other typical rapper interviews. And then he goes off a little bit on that. And I'm like, it's very flattering. And then, he kind of goes on to describe it such as that. His version takes more time, but, I like to do the more, abridged version of it. But that's kind of how we all came to be. And then we hit up end of the week. We started doing it week over week over week over week. This is episode 48 of Perspectives. So that's where we at with it now, in just over a year. So it's a big process, and you make it now internationally in a whole new way by being here with us, representing a whole other continent on the show. So if you could, just to start this off, if you could let us know your name, where you're from, and where your parents are from.
I'm Mas Law. That's what everyone knows me as. It breaks down as the law of mind and spirit, because I believe you need both to make a proper decision. Yeah, but that's evolved over time. And my background, that's Jamaican. I'm a Jamaican boy raised in Britain. So, I got the yard in me.
That's dope. Honestly, I get mad excited at the accent. I'm like one of those people, the UK rap comes on and I'm like, yeah, boy, they could be saying fucking, for real, man's not hot, it's a banger is all I'm saying. Like, it's at that point for me.
You were talking of madness in that, so it just goes to show.
He was, I admit it. But we have a real opening question that we start with. It's a bit more of a story. The key point is that you up in the UK over there, in the Britain, on the other side.
Here in the rainy grey side, man.
And so, with that, just keep that in mind, everybody. And I'm going to go through it. It's a story. When it lands, you'll be able to take it away. And remember that, none of us are from where you're at. So just keep that in mind. So it all starts out with my girlfriend. And one time she's washing the dishes. And she's got her phone out. And she plays that Black Eyed Peas song. I got a feeling, ooh. And she does her thing. She's vibing. She's dancing. I look at her. And I'm thinking to myself, when in the fuck did this song become chores music, right? Because if you think about this track, I don't know if in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it was around the world. But it was 10 years ago, the middle of the night banger. Everybody's dancing. Everybody loves this song. Run it up 10 years. And now it's a song we put on when we go jogging or wash dishes or do some boring crap because we want our brains to go back to the super fun times of when we once listened to that song in its glory. And I thought about it was crazy because the song doesn't change. It's a song. They don't evolve. They're just the songs. But we, as people on our musical journeys, change so much over the course of time that the relationship goes. And that got me thinking about us as artists. And honestly, the way the story of artists get told and the way the interviews have it, it always starts at the same adolescent point. I discovered hip-hop when I was 12 and I first heard this guy. Or I started writing rhymes when I was 9 and this. And I started going, but that's not really the beginning, right? There's a good chance when you popped out the hospital, wherever you was at in the Britain, and there was a song playing in the room, and your little baby self was already absorbing some music into your soul from day one. And I know that's a big thing because, like, when I was, like, young, like 5, I could remember being up in Montreal in the apartment. My dad's got gray boxes all over, the fucking amp, the preamp, the tape deck, the radio, all that stuff with the wires going to speakers everywhere. And you'd be busting, like, Led Zeppelin tapes and shit in the daytime. And at nighttime, it was the club mixes straight from the clubs of Montreal. But my mom's was a whole other vibe, right? We talking, like, musicals and love songs and discos, and then throwing some Disney bops of the 90s and some shit, and you got this whole world of music I was forced to consume before I had any control over it. So with that, Mr. Mas Law, I was hoping you could take us back to the youngest Mas Law you could remember being and tell us a little bit about what it sounded like to be you before you had control over anything, as young as you can go. And remember, none of us know shit all about the UK.
All right. For me personally, the adventure's different. Yeah, it starts off in the womb, and probably me listening to djembes, the cowbell, master drummers, and dancers from an African diaspora brought over to the UK. Yeah. So in retrospect, my family was one of the first African Caribbean dance groups in this country, one of the major ones. Yeah.
What?
So I am technically born on stage. Yeah. Through, like, my family brought Fela Kuti over. My family brought, like, legend Shabba Ranks. So my dynasty starts in music from conception. You know, my mum is a dancer and my dad is a drummer.
So, like, your whole life is kind of then on tour or around, are you guys kind of like stationary?
To a certain age, until grandma said, "No, I must go school. Stop taking him everywhere. He's not a gypsy." So,
So do you have
you know.
like, do you have memories of that? Like being this young kid going around, do you remember where you went or
Yeah,
anything?
I do. I do. Like, all right. There's a festival over here called Glastonbury,
Okay.
and my family would open and close Glastonbury for 10 years. It's like one of the biggest festivals. Yeah.
Is that the one with
Uh,
Jay-Z and Oasis?
exactly. That one. Yeah. So my family used to open and close that for 10 years. So I remember being probably around 6, running around the festival. The festival's humongous, yeah? And I'm running around the festival and I have a sign on my back that says, "If lost, please return to Felma's kitchen." Yeah? Because in the 10 years that my grandma and the family was doing it, my grandma managed to set up a tent to sell food, which turned into like one of them army style barrack tents. Then the kids played the sound system and everything like that. So yeah, I'm really immersed and born into this culture of, I don't know, music, but from a young age and from a very different perspective. Very different.
But that's why we do a show called Perspectives. Because we want to hear
Mm-hmm.
all about the different perspectives. Because that's what it is. So, like, not only are you from the UK, but you come from, like, this, like, festival family of musicians and shit where you're literally just from. So, like, when you're young, then, is it like you want to be in music or are you just kind of there?
I think music is in the bloodstream. It's not something you can kind of, at the time, it's not something I would shadow away from, because it was everybody in my environment was some musician or a legend. Not even like little people, like legends over here. Half of my mum's friends are legends, you know?
Right.
I see sometimes we'll have a little conversation and she might have this hat, you know, this jeans hat. I used to remember, I used to love putting it on. I love this hat, mum. Like jean, little rag top hat. She's like, "Yeah, Hugh Masekela gave me that." And I'm like, wow, you say it like it's really nothing. But to me, I'm gassed out my head because Hugh Masekela is one of the best jazz musicians coming out of South Africa, you know? But to my mum, at that level, it was just friends. It was just, and still to this day, she's so humble that it's just friends, you know? So
That's
I'm
wild.
really born in the seed of legends and of being around legends on my upbringing.
Yeah, you hear it in the dignity in the way you describe it, man. I feel like I'm a huge believer of environment having influence, right? And the fact that you're just surrounded by that since time makes no. It's obvious that you went on to just keep pushing it to this day. Like that's half the reason we do this show is to figure out how do people run that forever. And then yeah, starting off like that. But we got a question here. Was what kind of drummer was your father? Was it steel drums or like normal
No,
drums?
my dad's a percussionist, so he
Mm.
plays all the hand drums, going
Oh,
from
that's cool.
congos, congo, bongo, djembes, dalbuka. The range is phenomenal. It's like strains of weed. There's a drum, for every landscape in the world. You know,
That's amazing.
I went to Kampala, and the only thing that's ever blown my mind drum wise is in Kampala. This Rasta let me play his drum, and the drum was made out of the skin of a python, and sounded completely different. I was like, this is a whole new experience.
That's what. What does it sound like? Like, what does it compare to?
More tonal. It's more tonal because the skin's got more like rubber and taut to it. Instead of the slap you would get off a cowhind or a deer or antelope, you hear like a tonal sound. And where we was, it actually ringed over the marketplace of Kampala. So it's amazing. It was amazing. The sound was something different to experience, especially if you've always played normal drums or should I say cowhide drums all your life.
I mean, just the idea of having to break drums into different categories blows my mind a little bit. I never thought about any of that before, but Mas Law, that's a wild start to this. Like already, you're like, when I was in this country, I don't even know where you were to be honest. Um, and they're like fucking rang out over the market. It's like a Disney movie, bro.
But that was courtesy at end of the week. I ended up in Uganda for the
Mm.
EO final out there. And that experience was one of the most magical experiences of the whole adventure. I take very different things away from that experience. That was one of them, though. Just
So
that drum and a vulture in the sky just before we was about to, in the tree, sorry, just before we was about to go into like the final event. I just thought it was trippy that there was a vulture sitting there watching. I'm from the UK. The biggest birds we got here are seagulls. So when you're talking about vultures and marabous, you're losing my mind. You're losing my mind.
that's amazing. Okay, we're gonna definitely get to that in more detail. So you're going through your childhood, and up until school, you're cruising the world, and then when you get into school, do you have at this point like ambitions to make music, or are you involved in music in some way, or is it just kind of like around you so you do it? Like, I mean, I know that's
All right.
a vague
As
question, but I
kids,
guess there's intention there.
we had like a thing called it's like the Apollo Club. Yeah, with the Sandman.
Mm.
Yeah, we had that kind of environment growing up where we had the family. We all got to do our show and trick or show and tell, make it good because otherwise the artie's coming to break you up. That kind of vibe, yeah. And I like confession between 6 to I say 10. I was Michael Jackson. I was Michael. That dance move down to a T, the jacket. I would not even allow people to call my name. I would say, no, you gotta call me Michael. I was one of those kind of guys, yeah.
That's amazing.
And it broke out. Obviously, that gives me different angles to come from because I'm imitating the king of pop. Loved everything else, but my roots primarily was in ragga.
Right.
Dancehall and reggae is how I was raised. You know, I was Michael Jackson on dancehall. If you was to think about that,
Actually,
you
that
know,
sounds kind of
that was
lit
the
though.
balance.
It does sound lit.
That's what I mean. That was the balance at the time.
So you're
So I'm
basically
very
running
much
that.
straight.
And then so you said till about 10, and then what happens about 10 that makes you snap out of the Michael Jackson phase?
I don't know, maybe just growing up, the changes, the dynamics of school and so forth.
Mm.
And then maybe my influence into ragga a lot more because I went out there. I think it changed in 94. 94. I think Atlanta had the Olympics in 96, if I'm right. Yeah. And 2 years before that, I went to Jamaica. So I was 12, 94. And that year changed my life because I was running around with Little Hero and Tonto Metro, who was like legends at the time for me because they was like stage artists. So I was really gassed, really young. And came back, I thought I was a real MC, like ragga MC.
So were you performing with them?
No, I was just running around with them. I was just in that environment, but that environment made me come back to England like, nah, I'm a ragga artist.
Hold on. Tell us a bit more about that. So you're 12 years old, in 94, in Jamaica, in a scene. You can't just you gotta give us a little bit more about that. So
obviously that's the family house. So me and the mum's gone over to see the grandma and so forth. And we're out there. I believe it's 94. And we're out there and we're living it up. We're having fun. But the neighbor next door was hanging around with these two. And I was hanging around with the neighbors. So, we all end up hanging around and so forth. But in the process of that, I went to Sunfest, which is one of the big stage shows out there, where you would literally sleep on the beach and wake up to the main artist at about 5 o'clock in the morning, and the dance don't done until the next following evening. It's 3 days just on the beach. Crazy shit, yeah? Amazing. But I was immersed. I know from that, I'm a Bashment youth now. No matter what I go on, I'm writing them kind of bars now. I want Bashment bars. I want that energy. So I'm
not even gonna lie. I don't know what Bashment Bars means. I know there's a DJ in Montreal. His name is Bashment Booth, but I never thought to question what Bashment is.
Well, maybe I'm saying it wrong. Dancehall lyrics.
Okay.
Yeah. If you was to ask me what my flavor was at the time, I'm a dancehall MC.
I'm not thinking you're saying it wrong. I'm on the other side of the pond, right?
Well, so in respect to Beanie Man, I'm gonna say I said it wrong because Bashment is not a thing. It's a way you dress and it's a form of something, but the actual music is dancehall and reggae.
Okay.
So I wanted to be a dancehall artist, and show that dancehall style of things because I'm a yardie youth, and we, as a little island, it's a very influential island.
Right.
I've always said that, especially if you're coming from this side of the pond, Jamaicans in England, our effect over here is humongous. To how people talk now on the roads comes from the old yard ways. So I know Toronto has a big yard influence.
Yeah, Montreal too.
There's places
where when I went to high school, it was I wouldn't say it was just Jamaican, but it was super Caribbean influence. A lot of the English side of the black community is Caribbean. So a huge amount of Jamaican influence here. A lot of Jamaican restaurants all over. In fact, I can follow a lot of the UK slang because there's so many similarities.
Jamaican.
And then there's differences. We don't say ends up here, but most of that shit I can follow because it's okay, I know Jamaican shit, and I fucks with dancehall and all that because honestly, I just went to a high school that exposed me to a lot more than everyone else, but it's cool.
Yeah, so that's where my essence comes from. It comes from that. It comes from the whole
So Bashment then is the cultural, the fashions, the outside the music, and the music would then just be the music of Bashment is dancehall.
Exactly.
Understood. That's a cool lesson to learn stills. So you come back to the UK then with this whole new energy because one festival and a whole bunch of running around there, exposure to it influenced you heavy. That's a good thing to learn.
Yeah. But, I'm already a seeder dancer. Yeah, I love all the artists already. But there's an energy that you see live that cannot be imitated in any other style that I've seen apart from grime. Yeah? But we'll get back to that. But that is the only element that has a dancehall style vibe where people don't even do 3 minutes of a song. Are you crazy? That is way too much. If you got past 8 bars, you're lucky. Yeah, that's dancehall fashion. At the time, I just had to do a hot 4 bars. I said, "Weird, pull up," and that is it. And I can do that through. If you watch Beanie and Bounty do their thing, they could do that with 50 songs. 50 songs over 5 rhythms, you know? That energy is completely different.
I never thought about it at all, but the way you're describing it has me both curious and now I'm going to watch for it. I'm like, hold on. There's a style of music you can just do 4 bars? And that's it?
All right, so check it. If you actually come to a grime concert, yeah? And the boys are doing grime, they will say, 2 bar, 3 bar, 4 bar, got it. I ain't trying to hear that shit. And that is it. That could be a whole forward. They don't need all the other energies no more because that energy spoke way more in that forward. Yeah? And that comes from a dancehall tradition.
So do they just repeat that or they just say it and that's it?
No, you could go and there's a whole tune. You know, there's actually a song off it that has, 2/16s and a hook and everything. But if you actually go to a dancehall show and they're going wild and they're going off, you'd be lucky to get more than 8 bars. I'll tell you that. Yeah, on a song, lucky to get more than 8 bars. And that energy is something different.
And this is because the crowd is just too hype, so you can't even get through it? Or
No, because you don't need it. There's an energy. There's a continuous energy. I think that's the best way I can put it. It's an energy that doesn't stop.
Because, I watched my homeboy do a whole DJ set in the fashion you're describing, dude. I was hosting a stream. He came through and absolutely 45 seconds of a track, clipped it, moved on, hyped this shit up.
Yeah, that's it.
I was bamboozled, good sir. I did not understand what the fuck was happening in my face. I had never encountered a thing like that.
That is the energy. The energy is to keep it so continuous, it doesn't stop. Yeah? And the way you do that is by, you have to really be in that environment to fully absorb it.
Right.
But it really does work. If you're sitting there in your house and just chilling out, trying to hear a track, it might bug you out. Yeah.
Right.
But if you're in a dancehall and that vibe is going on, the big song comes on, you play 4 bars, the fire goes off, fire everywhere, firecrackers, all types of sound effects. It blows your mind. Absolutely blows your mind. It's a complete different experience. So to grow up like that in sound boy culture, to me, gives the stage show something different instantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah? Because we was taught to dress up. So if you watch Ninja Man versus Merciless way back in the day, Ninja Man came out with a ninja suit. Yeah, this is Sound Clash. So Ninja Man come out with a ninja suit ready to kill. And halfway through the set, Merciless was like, all right, may I bring you a funeral tune now? And got 6 men to walk out with a coffin, swinging and dancing this coffin with Ninja Man down the side, But when we went to stage perform, we perform. So anytime you see Yardies doing their thing, it's a general performance thing first. We really love the performance. That's why Buster's one of the illest MCs to me, because no one can't perform like him. That instant, vigorous energy never stops. It's crazy. It's Jamaican. Unadulterated.
That is super helpful. That's why we do this show, because I wouldn't have known any of that. Nobody watching this from my side would have probably understood. I'm sure a bunch of people would be like, yo, what the fuck is happening here? And nobody ever explains it, right? Because how are you supposed to know? It's not easy to Google. Why does the Jamaican DJ stop the song so frequently?